Yeah, I was giving Mark a hard time. I told Mark, he can come stay in the guest house and we could do a little fishing, a little hunting.
You must ain't see me on Big Noon. I was the ghetto fabulous musketeer. I mean the mountaineer. I come out there with my musket. Hummer. Give me one of them deers or them turkeys. You know what I mean? You ain't got to twist my arm.
Light it.
Hey, welcome. Episode 3, The Triple Option, presented by The Wendy's. Try Wendy's new Saucy Nugs today. And before we get underway, I want to remind you, subscribe, right? Mark, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts, as well as across social media at 3X Option Show. New episodes drop every single Wednesday. Glad you're back here with us. Rob Stone, the coach, Urban Meyer, Mark Ingram here with you. This week, guys, Texas legend Colt McCoy joins the show. We're going to discuss the U being the U. Brian Kelly throws his quarterback under the LSU airboat, and urine as a projectile. We're really looking forward to that conversation. Urine as a projectile. That's called a hook. Coach, that's a little teaser right there. But let's
was
start.
that Machine Gun Kelly doing that music?
MGK, baby.
MGK times BNK all day.
He was incredible.
MGK
man.
was awesome.
Wow.
That triggers our opening conversation. Team Big Noon kickoff was in West Virginia for that WVU Penn State showdown, and I think it's fair to say there were a lot of takeaways from that trip on and off the field. But number one, point A for me at least, Coach, Morgantown showed up, and they were just such a gracious, energetic host for Team Big Noon kickoff.
They showed out.
We got to get back there. But, I've always heard that. The problem was the team. I don't want to put it on the, team, but man, that crowd, everything was great. They just didn't play great. Offense, defensively, and, you got to give credit to Penn State. But as far as Morgantown, West Virginia, Neil Brown told me it's like Arkansas and Nebraska. And he said that with great respect. That is the whole world of the citizens of those states, because there's no pro sports. There's really no other college that competes with them. And I thought that was really cool for witness. And I'll say this last, before we went to the athletic director's home, I'll tell you, God created a beautiful country in America, man. There's so many beautiful places in this country that we never get to see. West Virginia is a beautiful place, man.
So, I'm sorry, Coach, you have me laughing right now because you mentioned Friday night we went up to the athletic director's house. They had this big, what was it? I forget what the name of the reception.
Blue jean ball.
Beautiful reception. The house was just, you could tell parts of it had just kind of wrapped up. There was sod on the ground, and in the back was this beautiful pool. And I didn't realize that Mark Ingram is a critic about pools, and he offered the AD some insight that maybe was information a little bit too late, Mark.
Hey, I saw the pool, and it was immaculate. The whole house was just gorgeous. But I was like, we could have took it up another level. There's always room for improvement, right? So they had it's a cliff overlooking the Cheat River, what they call it.
Yeah, the river and the hills and the green.
Hills,
the
trees.
Lush.
And we should have just did the infinity pool right down the infinity pool right off the edge, because we could have put the bar stools there. You wouldn't have got out the pool. We would have been pruned up all day, man.
The guy just opened up his brand new pool, and Mark's like, that's nice, but you know what would have been really nice? If that was in an infinity pool overlooking everything. And
but
I was
he
like,
did.
Yeah,
he was
hi, Rob Stone, Mark Ingram. Nice to meet you. You should really change that to an infinity pool.
He did say he thought about it. He said it was going to take too long. He said
but
that pool got done in 2 months. The infinity would have took a year and a half. So,
and
touche.
in this business, who knows where one is? So he might have been building it for somebody else if things go sideways.
How about the crowd showing up, the students, Machine Gun Kelly, MGK, and
MGK, your new BFF
place might have been
coach.
one of the best. Might have been one of the West Police.
That crowd was insane.
By the way, not joking here. MGK, we didn't really know much about this cat, and I know, Coach, you and I were kind of laughing on Thursday and Friday, and then you ran into him in the hotel parking lot, right? And you took a picture. We're all giggling.
Ohio boy. I didn't realize that. Cleveland, Ohio.
But that dude showed up, and he put on a performance before our show, during our show, was constantly working the audience. The song was so perfect for West Virginia. I walked away from that trip to Morgantown with ample loads of respect for that cat.
He
He
brought the energy, Rob, and I know
he
Coach
did.
respects him because he was calling him Shotgun Kelly at first, and he hasn't messed it up since. He's been
I
saying
downloaded
Machine
a
Gun
bunch of
Kelly.
his songs. That's how much respect I got.
He's
We
been
were
calling him
listening-
Machine Gun Kelly ever since he took the picture outside the hotel because it was Shotgun Kelly before that.
And we were listening to MGK on our drive out of Morgantown back up north to the airport in Pittsburgh. We had some weather issues. To deal with. Mark, at what moment during Saturday's broadcast did you think like maybe we've made a wrong decision?
I was like, everyone else is going to cover. And
Evacuating
we're going,
the stadium.
Everyone else is like running with like urgency now. Like got a little sense of urgency on them. And they're like, hey, we gonna go to the set. And I'm looking like, it's dark. It looks like the movie Twister out here. The air is chilling. The wind is going up.
Yep.
The cold air was the big giveaway
Yes.
when that burst of cold air hit.
Yeah. And
But
then
what, wind and rain are fine. It's the other stuff.
then when we
When
got
that
that
started
big-
happening, time to go.
when we got that big gust of wind, I was like, oh no, it's time. I was
It took that gust of wind, and it wasn't even a gust. It was almost like a circular gust and cold that came out of nowhere. And my stuff just, and I think I had some type of paperweight on him, and it just like grabbed it and just threw it and pegged it on a camera. It was funny, Mark, because everybody was running from the scene.
Yes.
And I felt like a fireman that I'm running into the fire with
Yes.
you guys. And I'm like, is this really
Are we,
Is this
are
really
we,
what we should be doing here?
are we really gonna do this? Everybody's
Are
like,
we
do
really
we
going to be talking college football in the middle of this tornado that's about to erupt and the lightning behind the hospital? And
Yeah.
oh,
It was
man,
chaotic.
That was
It
chaos.
was chaotic to say the least. Everyone else is running for shelter. We running to work. But it's
That's
okay.
it. Coach, I saw like you looked over your shoulder and just saw these bolts of lightning behind the hospital.
Like a lot of us, I'm not a lightning guy. That shows up,
No.
I gotta go. You gotta
Well,
go.
that's like we
Don't
all
mess with
have
Mother
lived-
Nature, man. You lose.
We've all lived in Florida, right? So like we know the power of lightning. People out here in California, they're like, oh, it's lightning. Let's go jump in the ocean. The other thing, Coach, to me was Mark Ingram in buckskin and coonskin can rock it now.
That was a jacked up mountaineer, man. I'm not sure I've seen one
Jacked
jacked
up
like
mountain.
that.
Ghetto fabulous mountaineer.
Oh my God. Mark,
Ghetto
did you
fabulous,
enjoy
Coach.
did you enjoy doing that, Mark, by the way?
Man, I loved
That
it.
was
Like,
fun.
You talk about the crowd, you talk about the energy we were a part of, and then for me just to be able to be in my West Virginia Mountaineer get up, you know what I mean? In the crowd, turned up. I had my musket with me. Like that was one of my favorite moments of my big noon so far, man. All the people in West Virginia, they were showed us so much love. They were so much hospitality, and for them to embrace me and appreciate me for putting on that Mountaineer uniform, that Mountaineer, and it was love, man. It was.
I
love.
always tell people when you go visit a place that the community's culture is on display. When you go visit and the people, and I mean, again, what can you say other than thank you, Morgantown, West Virginia, for the way you treated us. I mean, that was A+.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well,
I
people,
agree.
what makes a place special is the people, and that's why Morgantown is so special because of the people.
Coach, what would it take to get you into a buckskin outfit?
We'll go back. I
want you in
won't look
buckskin.
like Mark. I won't.
Let's go. Let's go.
Just at least the coonskin cap up top, man. I loved it. What a fun trip. All right, it's time for Any Given Saturday. College football is back, week number 1 in the books. A lot of great games and some interesting, intriguing results and some conversations that are out there right now. So let's start with Sunday in Viva Las Vegas. USC. Fight on, baby. Taking care of LSU 27-20. Miller Moss replacing the number 1 overall pick, Caleb Williams. All he does is go 27 for 36, 378 yards, a touchdown. Trojans scored with 8 seconds left to get that upset win. Had a part of a rough weekend for certain segments of the SEC. And I think a lot of us came into this game not really sure where USC was. Mark, I'll start with you and then get to Coach. Mark, like, what's your takeaway from where the Trojans are right now? Does this vault them into top 15, top 10, a total disruptor in the Big Ten? Where do you see them?
I think 100% they're in the top 15. I am extremely impressed with USC and what they showed. We talked about the concern of their offensive line. they stood up to the test. We talked about the concern of their defense, who was abysmal, who was terrible last year. And they balled out. They were flying around. They were hitting. They were tackling. They looked like a different team. So shout out to them for being prepared, being up to the task, going against LSU team who played really well, and they just made the plays that they needed to make to win the game. So I'm very impressed with them. And shout out to Miller Moss. He balled out, holding it down. But what about those two receivers? Your boy
100%
Kyron Hudson
those receivers
out there catching 2 one-handed passes in traffic with people all around them, balling. Zachariah Branch. They have some playmakers on offense. And with Miller Moss at the helm, this team can be a problem.
Just one game. Just one game. But
right.
I think it totally skews the conversations we're having about the Big Ten right now, because we've been just saying it's Oregon, it's Ohio State, and now USC saying, hold on a second here, I've got a disruptor card that I'm probably going to be playing through the course of the season. So
far, hire of the year has been Danton Lynn. I mean, that was a different looking animal on defense to hold them to 20 points and the tackling a year ago was awful, and we did actually a couple of shows on it. And so Lincoln Riley made a change, and he brought in the guy from Crosstown and UCLA, and it showed up. So it's time for the checkmate moment. The checkmate moment, Rob, is, as we do every week, it's the analogy of the game of chess where you take their king, it's over. It's last play. And as I said last week also, that coaches and teams, players prepare every day during training camp. You're working on those last 25 seconds, last 40 seconds. And the line, I used to call it the line of demarcation. What is that? Average kicker, it's a 25-yard line. A great kicker, it's the 30-yard line. And that equates to a 48-yard field goal if you've got a good kicker. And here again, it happened. And USC had the perfect play call, 18 seconds left on the LSU 47. And Lincoln Riley drew up a beautiful play. Caught him in the right defense, cover two deep safeties. They got 2 up on the safety, and my man Moss threw a dime and completed a perfect pass. That was game, set, match, checkmate, but they went on to score after the targeting penalty, the defenseless receiver hit, and they scored. But that was the checkmate moment. And I'm telling you, that was a clean game. Those are 2 good teams. That was not, you left that going, damn, that was a really, really good football game. But hats off that, one team makes a play and one team doesn't. That's why you work so damn. I mean, I just think about that. It gives me those post-traumatic stress disorder.
Oh,
right on, baby.
What's up, boys?
We got 2 guests today.
I can't hear them, though.
they're saying, hi, Matt. How are you?
I'm fantastic.
We're talking about the Trojans.
It just feels good to beat up on that old SEC last week. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, tell them I was just giving USC love, big love.
Matt, the big love for USC. What impressed Matt Leinart?
By the way, I'm just standing up. I should be getting.
And I'm in Matt's garage right now doing the show this week. That is not my Heisman.
You have the Kobe Bryant jersey in the garage?
It is Kobe behind me. I thought it was Fletch at first.
That's Kobe, the GOAT. To Matt, he said, "Do your thing."
Do your thing. What impressed you about USC the most?
By
the way, you were having some cocktails watching USC.
I had some tequila. I felt good. I was
love that
rocking.
reposado.
2 things really, guys, and I think it was impressive was, one, the defense. That was the biggest question mark. And I was on the field before. I talked to the D-line coach who we got from the Rams, who's really great. Talked to Coach Lynn. And there's just a different feel about this team. Now, again, it's one game, and everybody's excited, and they should be. But I watched the film last night, and it was just all the things, Coach, from last year, right? The missed tackles, missed assignments, everybody out of place. Like, you didn't see that. You know,
it's clean.
And it gets a good
Real
team.
clean.
LSU's a good team. I don't know how many games they're going to win, but that's a legit SEC team. And they tackled Kamari Ramsey, their safety, is an absolute stud. He came from UCLA. He's a really good player. They're just better, and they're better coached. And then Miller Moss was really impressive. And he's kind of did his time there. He's backed up Caleb for a couple years. And it paid off. We saw it in the bowl game a year ago, and we saw it in this game. He was unfazed. The moment wasn't too big, and he was efficient, man. It was just a great win. And I think just confidence. Like, this team, especially the defense, has just been getting crucified the last couple of years. Like, that's a big confidence booster for them.
Could Matt and I get any closer, by the way? My God.
That's going to go viral.
His whiskers are rubbing up against my face, big boy. Hold on a second before you go from your garage.
Tell him to shout out his
two new
pod
hits.
dropping this
Look at
Thursday.
my buddy. Matt's got a
What's
new
Mark?
podcast
Mark?
on Thursday.
Mark, what do you say? Yeah, throwbacks.
Yeah.
I'm telling him to shout out your
Me and Jerry
podcast.
Ferrara, Turtle. What's Mark saying?
He's just saying give him a plug.
No, I'm telling him
we
to,
got the
no.
throwbacks
I
coming
want him to
out,
plug his own podcast.
First show this week, me and Jerry Ferrara from Entourage Power. I know that's Mark's boy,
Yes, sir.
Proctor.
Proctor.
But me and Jerry, we're throwing it back, man. We got tons of stories to tell. We're gonna talk all sports.
You got a
we're
guest this week.
We're dads. We got a guest we haven't announced yet, so I'm not
you
gonna
haven't
announce
announced
it.
the guest
No,
yet.
but we got a big time guest just to kick off the season.
A Big Ten big time guest.
A Big Ten big time guest.
about
And
that?
I'll say this: Chicago Bears, a diehard Chicago Bears fan.
All right.
So subscribe
Like,
to wherever you get your podcast.
Follow.
Fun
Throwback
shit,
show.
like, slam. All right. Thanks.
Am I done?
Throwback.
All right, peace.
Go deal with your pregnant wife.
I'm gonna go back in my house now.
Matt's got to. By the way,
Throwback.
Matt's texting me. He's
Matt
like, "Hey
Leinart,
man,
Jerry
you got to
Ferrara.
be out of here in about another 45 minutes. I got stuff to do in my garage." So we're gonna keep things with. Thanks, Matt Leinart. Talk to you on Thursday.
we had two guests.
So many guests. We're loaded. We got Colt McCoy a little bit later. I want to hear from somebody right now. LSU quarterback Garrett Nussmeier, remember, replacing a Heisman winner in his second career start. I think we all agree the dude balled, right? 29-38, 304, 2 tugs, 1 pick. Here, though, is his coach, Brian Kelly, post-game assessing the quarterback play in this game.
You know, they've got some good athletes. I thought the quarterback played well tonight. He outplayed our quarterback. He made the plays when he needed to.
Does that feel like throwing your quarterback under the bus to you, Coach? Does it sound that way to you?
Oh,
That's
that's
throwing-
Marco. I know Brian Kelly.
Stoner, that's not throwing him under the bus. That's throwing him under the 18-wheeler semi. Your coach,
Okay.
your
And then
player just
backing
went
up
out there-
over him?
Your player just went out there and played his tail off. You said it, 9 incompletions, 300 yards, 2 touchdowns. He didn't throw an interception to the last pass of the game, which the game was over. And you go out here and you throw your coach under, you throw your player, your starting quarterback under the bus. You should be encouraging these guys. You should be, this is the first game of the season. We talked about the 12-team expansion. The season isn't over now. You should be encouraging your teammates, encouraging your players, bringing your players together instead of throwing your starting quarterback under the bus. That is unacceptable and unheard of. And quite frankly, I know for a fact he probably wants that back. I know for a fact
100% he wants that comment.
I know he wants that back because in a tough nail biter like that, that's divisive for your team. I'm sure he's apologized to his team. I'm sure he's clarified to his team.
Yeah.
But you have a 12-team playoff. Coach, let's take a step back. Your quarterback played extremely well and put y'all in position to be able to win the game. There's many other factors.
No doubt in what he
there's many
did.
other factors that contributed to that loss.
Yeah, when he gets back to that, and someone I'm sure is SID or whatever brought it up to him because we've all been there. If your microphone's in your face enough, you're going to say something. You hug that player up because I don't know what more that player could have done, Nussmeier. He played his ass off now, and that was a great setting, great environment, 2 great teams playing, and someone made a play at the end, and yeah, that's one of those ones. But that was not intentional. You got to hug them up and say we got to move on.
But Coach, you've done a lot of you've had some tough losses and you've had a lot of post-game conferences. Have you ever thrown your player directly under the 18-wheeler like that?
I would say no, but once again, it's been 18 years of doing it, so I don't
think you have, Coach.
No, I don't either.
Listen, I get it. It was stressful. There, Brian Kelly was pounding the desk in one of his opening
your heart was
comments.
taken away, Rob. Yeah.
A brutal loss. I get it. But by the way, you are paid millions upon millions of dollars to be a leader and a leader of young men.
You're right.
And I think Coach Kelly, when he listens back to it, and I know he's listened back to it already, he's like, that's not the way I meant it. That was a compliment to the opposing quarterback, right? That was a compliment. Like, that kid at USC played his tail off. I know he didn't mean it as a shot at his own player. There's no way he could have meant it. If he did, he should be gone right now. But there's no way he meant it that way.
Let
But
me
boy, he
point
would
this
like that
out
back.
too. We live in a society where now we're on a podcast talking. We move on. I mean, he made a mistake, and we can't. I will never do that. To start beating people up for someone makes a mistake, he'll handle it. He'll hug them up and say, "I know Brian Kelly," and I'm sure there's other podcasts will just destroy people for it. I won't do that. Made a mistake, hug them up and move on. Go get the next one. You played your ass off.
Third consecutive season, guys, LSU starts 0-1 under Kelly. Let's pivot to another big game. And I think this was a bit of an upset. Notre Dame taking down Texas A&M by 10 at Kyle Field. All those injuries, coach on the offensive line, Riley Leonard, making the transition from Duke to Notre Dame, had timely plays in his debut, 158 yards through the air, ran it as well 12 times for 63 yards, including 3 times he got a first down with his legs. And Notre Dame now favored in all of their remaining games. And that includes home to FSU in early November, which, by the way, that FSU thing just kind of keeps plummeting. We'll talk more about that in a second. But remember, Notre Dame closes at USC November 30th. So we'll see if Notre Dame is still favored in that one. But your big takeaway from what Notre Dame was able to do in a real hostile environment. Mark?
Hey, Rob, I think I was the one who thought A&M was going to be the victor in this game. And Coach Freeman did such a tremendous job of preparing his team to go in and not be scared, not be worried about the hostile environment. I don't know if you saw him coming out of the tunnel, jacking up his players, but he had the right energy, he had the right attitude, and that resonated with the players. You talk about Texas A&M's defensive line, which is the strength of their team. They neutralized them. They protected Riley Leonard. Riley Leonard made the right decisions, the right throws. Jeremiah Love made key runs.
Big name. Remember that name.
Jeremiah Love, the running
Great
back.
player.
And you going to love Jeremiah Love if you watch him tote the rock. So I'm telling you, man, I'm just so impressed with this Notre Dame team. They played very well offensively. They played very well defensively. Connor Wigman, they had him struggling. He was like 12 for 30. So this team, just from top to bottom, I just want to commend them. They did a great job. Had a big victory in a hostile environment against Texas A&M, and the Coach Freeman, man, he had that team ready to play. So big shout out to the Fighting Irish.
Hey, Mark, you pointed out something I want to hit really hard here. Marcus Freeman was given the job at Notre Dame. First head coaching job as at Notre Dame. Think about that for a minute. Arguably, most prestigious program in college football history. Here's a guy that really didn't have a background other than calling defenses. They made the right decision. They hired him. But you remember that first year, the look in his eye a few times? I actually called him. They had a tough loss, and because I'd been there. Mac Brown was kind of my mentor when I was a young coach, and I called him out of the blue. I've known him, but not that well. And I said, Marcus, hanging it. We had some great conversations. That's a different man right now than it was 2-3 years ago when he first took over the job. That was not fake. When you walk into A&M, there's over 100,000 people there. That's a real environment against a real team. You know who the players are looking at?
Him, your head coach.
Him, or the leaders of the team, but you are the leader of the team.
Yep.
And he did not have that confident look that he has now. When you saw, I think they lost to Marshall or something like that several years ago, he's got the real look. And you want to know something? They nutted up and they got it done in the fourth quarter. I can't say enough about Marcus Freeman. That's a real team, a very young team. Offensive line is very young. I want to hit one other thing, and I want to get Mark's opinion on this. The art of complementary football is something that I've studied my entire career. It's something that young coaches often err at. It's something often that play calling coaches err at. They're so worried about their own statistics at a certain side of the ball that they're not playing complementary football. And I'm going to bring this up on Big Noon. So every game in the big ones, I would walk over to the offensive and defensive linemen in that first quarter, and I'd go look at their eye, and if I trusted them, and even the coach, I say, can we block them for the offensive linemen? Because they know now. By now, after those first 2 series, they know if they're over their head. Same as a defensive lineman, Mark. I can look in the D lineman's eyes saying, hey, can you handle these guys up front?
Right.
And that set the tempo for game management the rest of the day. If we felt like we can control them, you did some things more conservatively. And I got to compliment Marcus Freeman. He played complementary football. He has a new quarterback. He has 5 offensive linemen have 3 or 4 total starts, Brady Quinn told us. So it's a very young offense. You know what he did? He played to their strengths. Their defense was all over A&M. Their quarterback was struggling. You know what Marcus Freeman did? He hung in there. He didn't panic.
Yes.
I thought it was when you write a book called Complementary Football, go watch that game.
Yes, sir.
They played off each other. They weren't stupid. He could have made some mistakes. Marcus Freeman did not. And I think people do not talk about complementary football enough. That coaching staff did an excellent job. Obviously, the players were phenomenal. But don't devalue complementary football. That's what won that game at A&M.
Yes, sir.
Quick take on Texas A&M. I would argue that they have been the most overvalued team over the course of the last couple seasons. Talk about the recruiting classes. Top 20 recruiting classes, 13 straight years. Top 10 classes, 4 of the last 6 years. That includes that number 1 class just a couple years ago. They have not posted, guys, a 10-win season since Johnny Manziel's days back in 2012. They've lost 6 straight games to ranked opponents. I know that this was game number 1 under a new head coach, Mike Elko, but the millions and millions of dollars that these donors have invested into Texas A&M and the lofty preseason rankings that have followed them and have really been gifted to them, no team in America has underproduced more as of late than Texas A&M.
One of my great coaches' friends, one of my great friends in coaching, coached there and said, first of all, you got the best high school football within a 4-hour circle of your city, of your university. And second of all, there is nothing you don't have. The donors, the boosters, the alumni, the money that flows through that program. It's zero. They're not in need of anything. You know, most places say, hey, we need this. We need this. We need this. You know, Ohio State right now, they're talking about they need a new facility, which they do. A&M, no, everything's there. That's an enigma to me. I don't understand why that's not a top 5 job every year.
Yeah. I don't get it either. I
think Mike Elko's going to get it right down there, though. He's a great head coach, and you know it's his first time, like you said, Rob. But I'm a big fan of Mike Elko. I think he's going to get it done down there.
Well, we'll give him time, but the recent history has been, to quote Coach, awful.
Has been
awful in College Station. Unacceptable. How about that? Even better.
Women lie, men lie, numbers don't.
Penn State, where we were for that West Virginia game on Big Noon kickoff, they take down WVU after that long weather delay at halftime. 34-12 was the final. The big conversation, Coach, about Penn State was their offense. Last year, conservative. They bring in a new offensive coordinator, and they were not afraid to be more creative and more willing to take big shots, and we saw that big time in week 1 from the Nittany Lions.
Yeah, we talked about the hire at USC, Danton Lynn, the D coordinator. I'd put Andy Koltanecki up there as well as hire of the year. It's a complete change in what we saw a year ago. And the biggest thing is they're committed to throw the ball down the field. We saw that. He's going to run option football. He's going to throw the ball downfield, and he's going to do Wildcat offense. We saw all 3. Drew Aller, I was very concerned about him. I still am. It's one game. But I'll tell you what, I actually picked West Virginia. I was wrong. You know, and that has the impact on offense. It looked like a different deal to me, Mark.
Yeah, I picked Penn State, and I thought that I liked Penn State because of the OC, Andy Koltanecki. And what we saw from him at Kansas last year, I knew that's what Penn State needed to get over the hump. And we saw that early in the first half. He was taking shots down the field. They were running the football. He had Katron Allen coming out of the backfield running option routes. We see even Drew Aller make some extra plays, extending the plays with his legs. I heard Joel Klatt and Gus Johnson talk about he was sneaky athletic out there. You know, we never put that with Drew Aller. So I'm like, this Penn State's offense is looking a little different. Obviously, it's one game. It's versus West Virginia.
Yeah.
But for right now, I like what I'm seeing from this Penn State offense. And if they continue at this trajectory, they will be a tough team in the Big Ten.
One thing to add, Rob, real quick, is that Nick Singleton, longest run from scrimmage, I think, was 19 or 20 yards a year ago. He had a 50-yard or 40 or 50-yard hit, and that was a result of a soft secondary because of throwing the ball downfield.
There's some fascinating big play numbers around Penn State. Number 1, Drew Aller, arguably his best game last season came against West Virginia. It was his only 300-yard passing game, right? So a little bit of put on the brakes that Drew Aller's there. Maybe he's just a dude who's really good against West Virginia. But Penn State, they had 4 plays of 40-plus yards last week. All of last season, they had only 8 plays gain 40 or more yards. Yeah. Penn State, they had 2 plays of 50 or more yards last week on the road to Morgantown. All of last season, they only had 6 plays. So they're clearly showing that they want to and that they have the ability to go bigger. And that's going to change the dynamics. That's going to change their perspective on Penn State going forward. What has happened to college football in the state of Florida. Because right now, the Sunshine State is run by the U. It is run by Cam Ward. Miami goes up to the Swamp. Humidity in the 70%, temperatures in the 90%, and it was a beat down. The U 41-17. Cam Ward, hello, Heisman conversation, 21-35, 385 mark, and 3 touchdowns.
The man is the real deal, and that's who they needed down there at the University of Miami. They needed a quarterback. They needed a ball player. He comes with the swagger. He comes with the demeanor. He comes with the execution. You talk about throwing the ball, he's as talented as an arm talent as anyone in the country. You talk about running the ball, maneuvering the pocket, extending plays, scrambling. He did it all for this team, and he has the swagger, the demeanor, and the leadership that this team has been looking for. And quite frankly, the U held an official visit at Florida's campus, at Florida Stadium. They held an
It was
official
so
visit.
good. Oh, wait, hold on. Take
That
a
was
listen.
painful.
Take a listen to this. This is amazing. So those that are listening and not watching it on YouTube, right? That is post-game. That is Miami players walking through one of the end zone areas where all the Florida game day recruits were, and they're telling them, don't come here, come to us.
We run Florida.
The U is back. Hey, baby, the U is back to their smack-talking, camo-wearing, South Beach swagger ways. Listen, we've got enough bland stars wearing those white hats out there. Give me more of these anti-heroes who aren't afraid to don the black hat, hear the boos, lean into it. College football is a better place when the U is sitting there stirring that pot and leaning in to being a heel. And by the way Florida has looked lately, I don't know if Miami wants any of those recruits, right? Miami's doing just fine with their recruits. I don't know if they need Florida recruits right now.
Hey,
The
man, that's
intensity,
just-
I'm sorry,
Coach.
Mark, the intensity
Coach.
of that recruiting, I lived it for 6 years. Every player you get on the phone with, every player you go see, it comes down to you and the U. And that's really the way, and Florida State, obviously, but that's the way it should be. And I mean, I have a vested interest in Florida. That's painful to watch that. But I'll tell you what, Cam Ward, that is, to me, recruit of the year.
Mhm.
I think he instantly transformed. I think he's that good, Mark. I went
He
back
is.
and watched it. He's that good.
He is.
And I saw him coming out of, I think it was Washington State last year, and he was the number 1 transfer portal quarterback coming out. And I remember teams are all over him. Mario Cristobal got the recruit of the year
He did.
with Cam Ward.
But, Coach, you talk about salt in the wound. Like, I played Florida. That's not the Florida that I know. You know what I mean? You talk about salt in the wounds. You go out there in the swamp, whoop them 41-17, and then while you're exiting the field, you're recruiting their recruits. Like, hey, don't come here. Don't go here. You come to us. Come to the U. Like, that is salt in the wounds right there, Coach. Like,
Yeah,
you know how aggressive it is. You spoke on how aggressive that recruiting is in the state of Florida. And for that to happen, man, you know those recruits are going home like, hey, Mom, hey, Dad, hey, partner, I don't know if we go into Florida.
Yeah.
Okay, I want to hit Florida real quick with you, Coach. According to one analytics session out there, Florida is favored to win one of the remaining 11 games, and that's against Samford. That's this. We're talking insanity right now in Gainesville. What's that pressure cooker like right now in Gainesville this week?
Gainesville's it's a tough job. I mean, it's a great job. It's one of the top 5 jobs in the country. You got everything you need. You got recruiting base that's second to none, and you got a great stadium. You got a great fan base. You got a great student body. You got it all. But I'll tell you what, Gainesville is a tough town to live in when you're the coach at Florida. It really is. And I love Gainesville. It was great. My wife really loved it, but I never really left the house because it feels like it's caving in on you. It's a small town, and there's very strong opinions there. It's a great place, but it's a very tough place to be when you don't end up on the right side of the win column.
Not a fun time in Gainesville for Coach
No, it's
Napier and
hard,
company
man.
right
Hard.
now. Let's pivot to Atlanta. Number 1 Georgia looked like the number 1 team in the land. They dominated Clemson 34-3. The Tigers, they had two offensive plays in Georgia territory in the first half. We'll get to what Clemson is right now, but Coach, what did you see from Georgia in their opening conquest?
They're the best team in the country right now until you take it from them. And I know the Wolverines did last year and Alabama did, but right now I think Ohio State's going to be the run at the end. But I think right now Georgia is. They got a great quarterback. They got a great program. I'm going to say this though before we move on to, don't give up on Clemson. I know everybody's beating a mess out of them, and probably deservedly so. That game was even at halftime. And if they get more offensive production, which they need to, and I think they will. So they have talent on the field. I know that we say that the time has passed him by a little bit as far as transfer portals. He has to adapt. I think that's a given. I love the term, a weakness stays a weakness unless you hit the transfer portal. That's the truth. So I think Georgia's the real deal, but I think at the end of the day, Mark, I went through Clemson's schedule this morning. I think Clemson's going to make the playoff.
Listen, Coach, you said
wait. Clemson's going to make the playoffs by winning the ACC, or
no? They'll lose one more game. No, I think they'll be one of the top 12 teams in the country. You know,
Okay.
You lose game one against the number one team in the country. It's even at halftime. You come back. You got good enough players. If he keeps that, go look at their schedule. You tell me who is a better team than Clemson. I'll say I don't think there's any.
Well, their schedule's because they're in the ACC, but you know what I mean? But yeah, they got, let's look, Stanford, Florida State, Wake Forest, Virginia, Louisville, Virginia Tech, Pitt, the Citadel, South Carolina. Yeah, they might, you're right, Coach. They could possibly be in the playoff because they ain't got nobody on there.
Yeah.
But Coach, you say they was even at halftime, but it is a fourth-quarter game. And in
Right.
that second half, they whooped that tail. No, but no, Georgia is just a different beast right now. Like, they've only lost 2 games in the last 3 seasons to Alabama, and they have the quarterback in Carson Beck. Showed what he could do. He was 23 of 33 for 278 yards and 2 TDs. The running game was good, and they missing two of their top running backs in the backfield. The defense, Rob mentioned, 2 snaps in Georgia territory in the first half. This team is poised to go the distance. Kirby Smart has the recipe, the way they're recruiting, the way they're playing complementary football, which you mentioned earlier, Coach. Offense, defense, special teams, field position. This team has what it takes to go the distance, man, and they are the best team in the country right now. And Kirby Smart is just doing a great job with this Georgia team, and they're scary, man. They have a tough schedule. They got to go to Bama. They got to handle that gauntlet of the SEC.
It's a little different than Clemson's schedule, Mark.
Yeah, a lot different.
A smidge different.
They don't have the Citadel on that thing. You know what I mean? But
The Citadel.
The Citadel.
The Citadel.
But you
Real
look
quick,
at the ACC. I just want to hold that thought for a minute. ACC with Florida State looking like they do now. NC State's always a tough team. Pitt's a tough team. Virginia Tech, no, they lost to Vanderbilt, I believe. I mean, you tell me. I'm looking at this schedule.
Carolina's starting quarterback is out for the year.
They're not going to lose
play
another
Carolina,
game,
do
Coach.
they?
They're not going to lose another game. Like, you're right. Look at the schedule.
Yeah, they'll be standing at the end.
And
State.
again, it was against the number one team in the country, right?
Yeah.
Like, you do need to put the brakes on that. However, if we're talking Clemson right now, and they were at one point sitting there at the top of the mountain, and they clearly have fallen. Dabo Swinney, last 15 games versus Power 5 teams, he's just 8-7. And that's your saucy nug of the week. Try some at your nearest Wendy's. The other thing about Clemson, and you guys touched on it, the transfer portal. They have not started a transfer since the portal opened. They've got a great campus, a passionate fan base, resources everywhere. If I'm a Clemson fan, I'm saying we deserve more than a coach who's content to be old school, right? Mow his lawn in his socks and his sandals. Dabo's got to catch up to the time. He is doing this program, I believe, a real disservice now. And if he does not change in the offseason, those major donors, Coach, the school bigwigs, they're going to send him over to ZipRecruiter and say, hey, you need to update your resume and start looking for a new gig because this is not working out. And I am stunned that a man of his intellect and a man who has seen success has really refused, Coach, to adapt to the times and embrace just some element of the transfer portal. I'm not saying you have to be the transfer king. I'm not even saying you have to be the transfer I don't know.
What you say, Coach?
I think
he ain't got to be the portal king.
Portal.
He ain't got to be the portal king.
No,
Right, just
no,
play the
but you have to
game.
embrace it. Or
Yeah.
I think the pressure. Well, once again, I think they're going to win every game. So I mean, I wonder if he just looks at it. And I know Dabo well, and he's, like you said, he's a smart coach. He's one of the future Hall of Fame coach.
Yep.
But whether you like it or not, I do believe you have to. You're looking at teams that do. And I just in my mind, when I think transfer portal, I don't love it either. But a weakness remains, Mark, a weakness.
A weakness.
If you have a weakness, what's your job as a staff? Fix a weakness.
Yes. Nobody loves the portal, I don't think, unless you're the portal king, like Lane down there in Ole Miss. You know what I mean? He loved the portal. But no, like, you have to learn to adapt. People are poaching your players, your best players from the roster. So why don't you go and replace, a weakness that you have with a strength? Look what Miami just did with Cam Ward. You get a player like that in your program, it changed the trajectory of the whole entire program. So Dabo has been successful. He's been a winner. I'm a fan of Dabo. He's an Alabama guy. You know what I mean? But it is time to adapt to the times, because you have to learn how to adapt or you will get left behind. And like you said, Rob, they mess around, don't make the playoffs. They mess around and drop a couple more on that schedule. These people in Clemson are going to turn on him. So it's time to get with the times, Dabo. I love you, dog.
But open up that portal, my friend. Coming up next on the Triple Option, former Texas legend quarterback Colt McCoy joins the show.
Light it.
You've had Wendy's Nugs dipped in sauce, right, Mark? You've had the Wendy Nugs?
I've had
dipped in
them, and I love
All right.
them.
But, Mark, I ask you, have you had them covered in sauce? Wendy's new saucy nugs take the crispy and spicy nugs that I know you love, and you know what they turn them up to? They turn them up to 11, Mark.
Ooh, more than 10.
More than
Choose
10.
between flavors like buffalo, honey barbecue, garlic parm, or if you're a real heat seeker, try spicy ghost pepper. Only on Wendy's signature spicy nugs. I dare you. There's 7 delicious ways to try the nugs you already love.
Are you man enough to try the spicy ghost pepper, by the way? Do you think you could pull that off?
That's not for me. I'm the honey barbecue type guy.
Yeah, I can do the peppers. Pick a flavor, grab some extra napkins, and then go back and get a few more napkins and prepare to nug. Apparently the word nug is a verb now. So Mark, prepare to nug like you've never nugged before for a whole new way to nug. It's got to be Wendy's at participating U.S. Wendy's. Keep on nugging, America.
Nug City.
Well, as you all know by now, we have teamed up with our great friends at BetMGM this season, and we're going to be using BetMGM lines to make all of our picks. We'll also have special offers for our listeners each week. Mark, you're listening, right? You're listening to this?
Yeah, I'm listening.
Pay attention. All right, so if you haven't signed up for BetMGM yet, we urge you to use the bonus code OPTION or go to betmgm.com/option, and you will get up to $1,500 first bet offer, Mark, on your first wager with BetMGM. We're talking $1,500, Mark.
$1,500. But here's how it works. Download the BetMGM app and sign up using bonus code OPTION. Deposit at least $10 and place your first wager on any game. You'll receive up to $1,500 in bonus bets if your bet loses. Just make sure you use bonus code OPTION when you sign up, or go to betmgm.com/option.
It's all about the option, Mark.
It's all about the option, especially the triple option.
See BetMGM.com for terms. 21 plus only. U.S. promotional offers not available in New York, Nevada, Ontario, or Puerto Rico. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Available in the U.S. Call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467369, New York. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP, Arizona. 1-800-327-5050 in Massachusetts. 1-800-BETS-OFF in Iowa. 1-800-981-0023 in Puerto Rico. First bet offer for new customers only. Subject to eligibility requirements. Rewards are non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire in 7 days in partnership with Kansas Crossing Casino and Hotel. All right, we're joined this week by two-time Walter Camp Award winner, two-time All-American, the man, Mark, your ears are about to perk up, the man who finished behind you in the Heisman Trophy race in 2009, the man who finished behind you in the national championship game, the BCS championship game, had that first quarter shoulder injury. Texas legend Colt McCoy joins us right now. Colt, man, you see Mark Ingram and you hear Alabama, do you just like kind of start shaking right now, like bad vibes, or maybe there's some good memories out there?
Oh man, yeah, that was a tough game, but Mark Ingram is one of my good buddies. He's one of the best in the business. He's the man. And I knew going into the Heisman in 2009 that I wasn't going to win it. And so if I wasn't going to win it, I was hoping that Mark would win it, and he did.
Hey, Stoner, man, why you coming in here trying to create this animosity between me and my brother from another?
No. See,
I
I
mean?
got a Heisman.
Like-
I got a Heisman behind me this week. So now I got like this extra Heisman swagger.
It's not yours. There's a lot
What do
of.
you mean?
I speak on behalf of the country. That's not yours, man.
But no, man, Colt is the man. And he thought he was going to win. I thought I was going to win it because I went to the ESPN Awards and didn't win one award. At least you won some Player of the Years. I didn't win the Doak, anything. I'm like, how am I going to go to the Heisman and win the Heisman Trophy when I didn't win one single award at the ESPN Awards? So we were both nervous. We both thought we weren't going to win it, but you the man, and I appreciate you, man. You always been a first-class dude, top-notch individual, both on and off the field, family and all, man. So the respect is mutual, the love is mutual, and you my dude, too.
There we go. Love that. Love that.
Colt, what are your thoughts on Texas this season heading into this huge showdown in Michigan and at the Big House?
I think Texas has a great team. If there was ever a time for them to make a move to a conference like the SEC, I mean, this would be the year to do it, right? The quarterback room is really, really top notch. I think their offensive line is one of the best in the country. A lot of returning guys. They get a lot of push up front. I watched a little bit of their game last week. And I think when you move to a conference like the SEC, like having that interior play be really solid and have some experience in there goes a long way. So I know they got some tough games coming up, especially this week at Michigan, but I think they're very well coached and disciplined and are excited about this year.
Hey, Colt, you were the backup to Vince Young when you won the national title. You see this incredibly talented Arch Manning behind Quinn Ewers, and I went and watched it this morning before I talked to you. Man, is he good. I heard rumblings that he was like overrated or something last year. He is not. I mean, he looked really, really good. So in this era of people transferring and leaving, here you are, you understudied Vince Young. Here is Arch Manning understudying Quinn Ewers. What's your thoughts on the progression of understudy then becoming the starter?
Yeah, look, I mean, I think Arch Manning is the real deal, right? I've spent some time with him. Obviously, he's got the last name, the pedigree, all those things, but the kid works really, really hard. He's really smart. And I think, it's a credit to him for sticking around and redshirting and really kind of buying his time to be the starter at Texas. I mean, I look at some of these games from last weekend, right? Miller Moss, the Nussmeier kid. I mean, if you're a quarterback in college, and I would say stay where you are, like wait your time, learn and grow. And like the redshirt year that I had behind Vince, like first of all, I was not nearly high rated as Arch. Nobody knew who I was, but the redshirt year was the best thing that ever happened to me. I was able to just really learn the system. I spent a lot of time in the weight room. I played a bunch of sports in high school, so I really wasn't ready for a full year of college football, and that year helped me a ton. And I just look at the quarterbacks that performed the best week one, and across the board, it seems like those are the guys that kind of waited their time, like learned the system, got coached up, and they stepped in there and played really good. And Quinn's great too, right? Quinn's third year in the system, playing at a high level, and I just think that if you're a high school quarterback across the country or a recruit or somebody who's kind of stuck in a situation, like maybe best option is to stick it out, because all you really need to go out there is play pretty good for a year and you got a chance.
Yeah. So we talked about Texas moving to the SEC. What were your initial thoughts when you heard that Texas was going to leave the Big 12 and move to the SEC? And how do you think this sets this program up moving forward?
Yeah, I mean, I heard like rumblings about, us changing conferences. And I just think that our athletic director and our board of regents and kind of the state of college football, I think they were a little bit ahead of the game. And, them in Oklahoma being able to move to the SEC, I think kind of started the trend of all the sort of the mega conferences, right? And,
right.
Maybe they had some intuition it was going to be this way.
Because they announced it like 2-3 years ago, right? That they were going to do this.
Right.
So they were ahead of the curve.
Yeah, I think that's right. And I think, the biggest thing for me, why I'm excited about the SEC is that, just looking at the Texas program, right? Been involved there, love our school. We get to play all of our old rivalries, right? We get to keep the Oklahoma game playing in the Cotton Bowl. We get A&M back. That's a huge game for our state. It's a ton of fun. And then you get the old Southwest Conference rival with Arkansas back, and you get to play those guys every year. And to me, now a fan of Texas football, like that's a big deal. It's gonna be a ton of fun to watch.
Texarkana, you know what I mean?
Yeah. They used to say when we would go into Arkansas to play, they would put the Texas flag right there in Texarkana on 35. So everybody had to drive over the Texas flag. I mean, it's an old bit of rivalry for sure.
Okay, I like it.
Colt, you just moved to Fort Worth. Try to describe the visuals that you're looking at beyond this screen, beyond this camera, and this interview. All right.
Yeah, I was giving Mark a hard time. I told Mark, he can come stay in the guest house and we could do a little fishing, a little hunting. If I'm looking through this screen, I'm looking out at the deer feeder that I set out there about 100 yards out there. It's a little rainy today, a little foggy, but there's several deer out there right now.
Give us a quick head count. How many animals? What animals are we looking at?
I actually have about 10 deer bedded down around the feeder. They're just waiting to go off again. They're spoiled over here, man.
Mark's a city boy.
Man,
Mark doesn't know what he's doing.
You must ain't tune in to Big Noon on Saturday.
In his hands in West Virginia, he had no idea what he was doing.
You must ain't see me on Big Noon. I was the ghetto fabulous musketeer. I mean the mountaineer. I come out there with my musket. Give me one of them deers or them turkeys. You know what I mean?
Hey,
you got to twist my arm.
If you come out here, you got to work. We hauled hay a couple days ago, so we still got some round bells out there.
Whoa. Nobody said anything about hauling hay. Wait a second.
You said it was a vacation.
You said guest room. You said hanging out, shooting deer.
I'll always swindle you into doing a little bit of work around the farm.
A little bass fishing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Something. I'll roll a barrel of hay for you. One.
BCS era national champ. You played in a championship game. We were part of the 14 playoff. Now it's 12. What's your thoughts on the expanded 12-team playoff?
I think it's awesome. I think, I think there's going to be a lot of teams that have a chance to get in. I think there'll be a couple teams that, win their conference that have a chance to also get into this 12-team playoff. And then the fact that the first games are home situations based on your seeding, your ranking. I think it's going to be incredible. I think it's great for college football. I think you ultimately get, a fair shake and competition into who's going to be the national champion. And I honestly wouldn't be surprised if somebody gets hot late in the year. Maybe they have an injury, lose a game or two early, but kind of be able to do enough to jump into the playoff and get hot and maybe come out on top. So I think it's going to be really fun to watch and great for college football.
What do you think about those boys from the South, though, might get stuck in Ann Arbor, Columbus, Ohio, or South Bend in December?
Yeah, no, that's tough. But I mean, look, I love college football. I had some opportunities to broadcast some games, and just the fact that I get to go back to college ball and watch. I mean, I played 14 years, but every Saturday night was kind of my favorite time was to watch all these games, and I'm excited about Texas, Oklahoma going to the SEC. I think there's some great matchups. I think there's also some really good matchups in the Big Ten, which is most of the games that I'm going to be calling on NBC. So, man, I'm just a huge college football fan and kind of excited about this.
Yeah. And you spoke about it, man. You just retired, 14 years. Congratulations. You are legendary. You defied all the odds. 14 years. Blessings to my dog. Now you transfer into the broadcast booth. You're going to be part of NBC, the Big Ten coverage. What are you feeling like, man? Are you a little nervous? Is it like the first time you're going to a game in the NFL, or like how you feeling right now, man? Because I just did it last year, and now you doing it this year. So blessings and health and wealth to you and much success. But how you feeling right now, man?
Yeah, I know. I've got a big game this weekend, Nebraska, Colorado game in Lincoln. Two really good teams, right? I've watched Shadur Sanders the last couple of days, and all those weapons he's throwing to, they are deadly. He's got a great feel for their offense. He's got 4 years of experience in college. But they're going into a pretty hostile environment. And on the flip side, Nebraska's, Dominic Raiola, not Dominic, that's his dad. Dylan Raiola is a gunslinger, right?
Yep.
He's got some new targets through the transfer portal. Their offensive line, I think, has like over 250 starts combined. A couple good running backs. So I think it's going to be a really good matchup and a fun time, and kind of getting thrown out there into prime time. We'll see how it goes.
That boy is seasoned. You hear him already, Stoner? That boy,
Raiola?
hey, he's seasoned, a veteran already.
He learned it from Papa. He learned it from all his relatives, man.
Come on, man. That boy Colt, man, he a true professional, man. He's one of those guys.
Speaking of that, Colt, you're in this brave new world, and when we have a guest with us on the show, we like to kind of conclude with offering them the opportunity to ask us a question. So the three of us, is there anything lurking out there in the back of your brain that you want to know from us?
Yeah, I mean, if I'm going to speak to my boy Mark. I mean, we've been real cordial today, but I mean, things happen in games, right? Alabama, Texas. I mean, what was just, it's always like, what would have happened? I mean, what would have happened, Mark?
Oh, I can't.
What
wait
would
to
have
hear
happened
this.
is we still would be in the same position we are today. It's much love, you know what I mean? But when you went down, we had a plan for you. You know what I mean? We studied tape. We had a plan for you. When you went down, it threw a wrench in our little.
All right, Colt, what would have
You know
happened?
what I mean?
All right, Colt, what would have happened?
I mean,
We'll get into
I think we would have scored some points. I think, Mark probably wouldn't have got as much touches because they'd have to spread them out and throw the ball. And we felt pretty good going into that game too. I mean,
Bottom line, you got the
what's
dub?
that?
Bottom line, you get a big ring.
I wish. I'm happy for Mark. If there was anybody that was gonna come out on top, Mark had a heck of a career, and then translated that into the NFL. Played a lot of football, a lot of good teams. I mean, every week when we were playing teams that Mark was on, you knew he was going to get about 15 or 20 carries, and you better buckle up, right? They're going to keep the ball. They were going to run the clock, right?
Yeah.
You knew as a quarterback, playing against them, whatever team Mark was on, you're going to have to score points and score them.
We gonna tote that thing.
And keep the
we gonna
clock
tote
going.
that thing. Hey, Coach, but we always talk about those like 08, 09 Florida teams, and when we went and played them, the amount of NFL talent that was on the field, It was just insane. Like, the football was just real football back then. Like, it was real college football. The amount of players that we played against each other in the game before in the SEC championship, the same amount of NFL players were on that team, us versus Texas, man. So we knew that, like, we had to come with it because they had guys on offense, they had guys on defense, they had Colt who was a gunslinger, putting up a lot of points, and we was just able to be the best team that day. You know what I mean? So I don't know. Cole was trying to do his thing.
I mean, Marcel Darius at the time was a backup. You guys were loaded, man.
That was his come out game.
Who was on the field, just they were all going to make it to the NFL.
He's the one that hit you, right? And he the one that hit you right in the back.
Yeah.
What was it, Cole? It was like an option play, like a little option. You turned it up, right?
We called option to the left. The Saban blitzed the nickel off the edge and took the back away. So I had to kind of duck it up in there. And as soon as I kind of put my foot down, they collided with me. It just caught me it wasn't like a crazy hit.
Yeah.
It just caught me the right way, folded me, and just my whole right side just went completely numb. And I mean, to be fully honest, I've dealt with that injury my whole career. It's something that I've had to stay on top of. Still if I sleep wrong, it's same deal. So I'm reminded of that all the time, Mr. Mark.
Well, I love you, bro. And I'll come out there to the farm. I'll go bass fishing with you. I'll go get some of them turkeys you got. We family, dog. We ain't gonna let the little small bump in the road, hinder our relationship. We brothers.
I mean, looking back, that kind of started the Alabama run, right? That was the first of several national championships, and I just hate that it had to be us, man.
To make you feel better, it started with the guy next to you, Coach Meyer. It started with him. They started the dynasty. We got them back, and then we went and got y'all. So the momentum started when we got them. So I won't let you take full advantage. I'm going to give that to him.
Didn't realize Alabama was so generous.
Matt Brown is such a good friend. We used to always dream about getting each other in a national title, and you guys won it, I believe, 05. We got 06. LSU got 07. We got 08. And then the Tide went on their run.
Yes, sir.
09 on.
That was good times in college football, man.
Magical era, man.
Real football.
Magical. That's
Real football. Ain't none of that Rudy Poo stuff, none of that targeting stuff, getting ejected. You know, it was real football.
That's
if you
right.
go across that middle, you better know how to get down, or your quarterback better not throw you into a collision. Like, it was real deal. It wasn't no falling on the quarterback, personal foul penalties. No, it was real deal. Holyfield, what you gonna do?
No doubt. No doubt.
To that point, Colt, where is college football better, and maybe where has it taken a step back compared to your playing days?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, look, I don't want to be one of those old guys, me and Mark, talking about how good it was back then. But you look at when I was in college, man, like I think there was 7 teams in the top 15 from the Big 12, and so it was a grind. All those teams were good, and the SEC was really good. The Floridas, the Alabamas, right? Every week I would watch all these teams that maybe we would get matched up to, in the bowl games, and back then it was based off the BCS, right? So you were leaving it up to basically a point system, right? We beat Oklahoma my junior year and Missouri, and got beat out by both of them because we lost to Tech on a last minute play by like 0.01 points, right? So you left it up to a committee.
Yeah.
I think the state of college football is a whole lot better with the playoff, and now with the 12-team playoff. Like, I would love to be in college football right now and be able to have the chance to, like, hey, look, we're going through a season. We win our conference, or if we battle through these games and maybe come out 11-1 or whatever, we're getting to the playoff. When we get to the playoff, it's everything, right? Like, let's go and may the best man win. And so I think just the state of that, I think, back then, can you imagine if we would have had a 4-team playoff or a 12-team playoff? There was some ridiculous teams, and those home matchups would have been wild. And really, the best team would ultimately come out on top at the end. And so I think just the playoff system alone is very beneficial for college and these teams.
Where's it gotten worse?
Where's it gotten worse? I mean, I think for me, it's just looking at the transfer portal and the NIL. You look across a game, and there's guys that have transferred 3 or 4 times, and then those guys jump into the NFL, and they've moved around 4 or 5 times, and it's just like that. I just hope that somehow, I know you can't put the toothpaste back in the tube, but I just hope somehow we can keep the integrity and the sanctity of college football. It's the best in the world, right? The fan bases, the traditions, the histories. Like, I hope that that doesn't change. And I think so far we're okay, but I just want to make sure that there's just some rules in play that, like, hey, let's keep the traditions and the sanctity of this sport as best as we can.
Prediction time: Texas, Michigan, Big House, Saturday. Who's winning?
I mean, look, I went to Michigan last week. I had did a little bit of the broadcast. Michigan, Fresno State. I think they're a little bit shaky on offense, right? I'm sure their quarterbacks will come along, but that was their first experience, both of them. I thought Davis Warren did a pretty nice job. Look, if we can shut down their tight end, Colston Loveland, he's one heck of a player.
Yeah.
He may be the best tight end in the country, and score some points. Right, I think Texas comes out on top. I know their defense is good. They're well coached. Wink Martindale coming in from the NFL, from the Giants,
Wink.
Ravens. Right, he has a great scheme. He's got a really good defensive line. But I think Texas is poised to go in there and win, and I would take them for sure.
All right, one last prediction, because we do a Deuce Deuce Dawg of the week on the podcast, and you going to cover my dog of the week. Do you think Colorado can go into Nebraska and get the outright upset? Do you think this is possible?
Mark hasn't made his pick yet, so he's using this as some insider information.
Yeah, all right.
From
Well,
a guy who is as well versed as you are. I heard you giving me the scouting report of the game, so I'm like, I need a little something for my boy
intel.
Cole. Yeah.
Well, look, I think Nebraska is much improved, right? You look at, I watched
For
their
sure.
game last year. Colorado beat them handily, right? I think they beat them like 35-7, 36-7, something like that, right?
Well, they
It
couldn't
wasn't
throw the
much
ball.
of a game. Nebraska had no offense. I think their
Right.
I think Nebraska's offense is big time improved. They run a good system. They're committed to the run. They got 2 good backs. The transfer from Oregon's good. Their offensive line is good. But I mean, the thing is, like, you can't play man coverage against Colorado, right? They have they have 2 or 3 guys
Yep.
out there that are gonna be playmakers in the NFL on Sundays. There's no
Jimmy
doubt.
Horn,
And
Travis Hunter.
If it gets into a shootout, you can't go against Colorado, right? But you look at it, it's a primetime game. You know, Colorado's on the road. It'll be pretty rowdy crowd.
Colt McCoy, hey man, thanks so much for joining us. Good luck in the next venture. And when somebody says, hey, you're a little shiny up top over here or in the T zone, just accept the makeup, lean into it. It's for a better cause, all right?
That's right. I need that, man. I'm gonna have to get clean shave, a little scruffy right now, but I'm
Scruffy's
excited
good.
for the game.
It keeps that Texas swagger going.
There you go.
Adds
Thanks,
a little
Cole.
texture. Adds a little texture.
A little
You know what I
texture.
mean?
Colt McCoy, everybody. Thanks, Colt. Great to catch up with you.
We love you, Cole. We love
Love
you.
you, man. All right, y'all
Thanks,
have a good
Colt.
day.
Light it.
Are you hiring? What type of position do you need to fill? Well, whether you need to hire a civil engineer in New York, a pediatric nurse in Nebraska, an attorney in Colorado, or I don't know, even a mascot in Michigan, you need ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter finds qualified candidates fast for all kinds of roles. And right now, you can try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/option. Say your favorite school fired their offensive coordinator in the middle of the season. ZipRecruiter lets you connect with top candidates ASAP. You can use ZipRecruiter's pre-written invite to apply message to personally reach out to some of your favorite candidates and encourage them to apply sooner. From accountant to zoologist, ZipRecruiter makes hiring faster and easier. 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. You can try it for free at this exclusive web address, ZipRecruiter.com/option. Again, that's ZipRecruiter.com/option. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. Welcome back to the Triple Option. Mark Ingram, Urban Meyer, Rob Stone back here with you in honor of week 1 and finally playing off that tease that I dropped in the beginning of the show. We wanted to talk about the most intimidating stadiums to enter. We're not talking about playing. We're talking about entering. All right. The walk into the locker room or the walk from the locker room to the field. So, Coach, I know you've got a couple that are high on your list. I know he's already shaking his head right now, Mark.
What's the term? Awful is the term I like to say. It was awful. And the worst one ever, Mark, is 2007. We were defending national champs and we come rolling into LSU, which, by the way, is the most ridiculous in atmosphere. I have that on Penn State as the most, just absolutely ridiculous. I remember the old lady, she's in a walker and she's walking. And as our buses come by, she stops and takes her hands off the walker. And then, I'm not just banging
Double bird.
The double bird, right?
bird
Staring
for
right
grandma.
at me. I was like, what in the hell? And then as we entered the stadium in 2007, they put the fans are not, but it's maybe a 10-foot wide walkway as you walk in that damn stadium.
A small, narrow corridor.
And nasty. Saying things and mean looking. And this one guy just yelling, staring right at me. And he's right off to my left. Then I have 2 police officers with me as I'm walking in there. And our players, we kind of warn them to stay away from that nonsense. And one guy's holding a cup. And as I get closer to him and we make eye contact and he's just screaming at me. And I wanted to take a swing at the guy, but right then he takes and he dumps this on me. And I thought it was a beer and I drop my bags and I go after him and one cop grabs me and the other cop kind of goes after him, but he can't, it's a chain link fence and he just disappears right behind it. And the players saw it. And we go in and I lost my mind and I'm like, wait a minute. I thought that was beer. Mark, it didn't smell like beer.
It was warm and yellow, though.
And so I had to jump in, look at Mark. So I had to jump and take a quick shower, and we get out. And the locker room was insanity. Dan Mullen was my offense coordinator. The Tebow was on that team. The players lost their minds, Spikes and everybody. And we put up, it was a great game. They went for it on 5 4th downs in the fourth quarter. Ended up winning the national championship, but that was the worst. Worst.
I can agree with you, Coach. I didn't get doused with the urine, but I know for a fact we came in on them buses, and it was just fans on both sides. They was rocking the bus. I'm a freshman. I'm a freshman. This is my first time going there. Night game at LSU. Coach Saban's first game back at LSU, and we driving on the bus. They just rocking the bus. I'm like, ooh, this thing got some good hydraulics on it, don't it? Then we get out. They got like a scarecrow, witchcraft, voodoo doll thing of Coach Saban. I'm like, what's going on out here? Like,
and then Mike the Tiger.
Yes, and then I'm coming out of the locker room. I'm like, yeah, oh yeah, it's time. It's time. Then all of a sudden, I just a whole tiger right here to the left of me jumping up, hitting the fence. I'm like, is this even legal? Like, what happens? This tiger right here, bro. I'm out here in my zone. Tiger then threw me off my zone. Mike the Tiger, whatever his name is, but nah, LSU, man, is one of the most hectic places to play. That environment is crazy. The fans.
But you never had a cup thrown on you?
No, sir.
Coach, did they ever catch the urine thrower?
No, he disappeared behind the chain link fence.
He did. He vaporized.
Witchcraft. I'm telling you, some voodoo stuff going on.
Was it bright, non-hydrated yellow, or was it a little watered down,
or Rob,
a little clear?
You know, I'd nudge you. I'd take a swing at you right now if you were right next to each other. Hey, can you imagine? I mean, that was a younger version of me too. I mean, it was insanity.
He said, Coach said he was trying to get at him.
Oh, he was right there, right to my left, and the cop.
Hey, the funniest one is the 80-year-old lady in the walker supporting herself, doesn't use her walker no more, and gives you the hummer.
Double, not the same one. It wasn't at the bus. It was at
me.
Double right, and stared me right in the eye, and I mean. Yeah,
but I'm telling you right now, man, I played in New Orleans, and a lot of those fans are the same. The same Tigers fans are the same Saints fans. And those fans, they don't play about their Tigers. They don't play about their Saints, man. They go hard for them. So I did appreciate that fan base because they were my fans when I was in New Orleans. But when you're not a Tiger, you don't appreciate them too much. I tell you that.
Can we move on from the topic of urine in football? Are we good with that?
No, let's move on.
Yes.
Please, let's pivot. All right, Pick Six brought to you by BetMGM. Place your money line, prop parlay, and same game parlay bets at BetMGM. Download the app today, and as always, please gamble responsibly. Again, each week we're going to pick 6 games against the spread. Mark over there, he's got his Deuce Deuce Dog of the week. One of his picks will be the underdog that he thinks will outright win. Reminder to everyone listening, these lines are current as of Tuesday, so obviously they can change. Let's start with the big one in the big house. Texas is a 7.5-point favorite, Coach, at Michigan. The line opened at 3.5. 3.5, so a 4-point movement now to 7.5.
There's 4 rosters right now that look different to me as the season progresses, and we're diving into it. It's Georgia, Ohio State, Alabama, and of course Texas. It's just 5-star athletes basically every position. They utilize a portal. You know, the Wolverines lost 18 of 22 starters. We're going to be there. Big Noon is going to be there. It's a 3-hour show. We got my friend Charles Woodson. We got everybody going. The Wolverines got a real dilemma at quarterback. And we're going to talk about that on Big Noon, and that is, do you go one system or 2 quarterback system? A lot of risk, but a lot of risk in going with one if you don't think he's the guy. So I like Texas to cover the spread. I think it'll be an absolute street fight early in the game just because of the atmosphere, because of, you're playing in Ann Arbor. And the Wolverines. The Wolverines defense is legit, but I think at the end of the day that the Wolverines will not be able to have enough offense to slow down, to get Texas off the field, and Texas will be on the field far too long.
All right, we're going to pivot to Mark. Arkansas at Oklahoma State. In Stillwater, the Cowboys favored by 7.5, and Mark, 60% of all the bets, though, are on the road team, Arkansas.
Ooh. Hey, and I think 60% of the bets are on the road team because of their quarterback, Taylon Green. He is a beast, 6'6", 230 pounds. He could throw it, he could run it. He will be a problem for this Oklahoma State team. But going to Oklahoma State, they have one of my favorite players in the country, in Ollie Gordon, the running back. I think he'll be the difference in this game. I think he is a bona fide top pick for a running back coming out in the next NFL draft. He's the real deal, man. If you want to see some great talent from the running back position, go watch Oklahoma State and watch Ollie Gordon III. Ollie Gordon II, just like your boy Mark Ingram II. But no, he's special. And I got Oklahoma State at home in a close one versus Arkansas.
All right, Arkansas pounded Arkansas Little Bluff over the weekend. It is Cy-Hawk Trophy time, guys. Iowa State at Iowa. and the home team, the Hawkeyes, favored by 2.5. How poor was the offense in Iowa last year? Well, it was 234.6 yards per game poor. That is dead last nationally. 7 times Iowa had 15 points or less. 3 times they were shut out, including their last 2 games of the season. In comes a new offensive coordinator, Tim Lester, and according to my sources, they are currently building a statue for him in downtown Iowa City because Saturday, against FCF side Illinois State, it was their best offensive day, guys, in nearly 5 full years. Iowa, 492 yards of offense, 40 points. Cade McNamara, coming off that injury, was rusty in the beginning, finished with 251 and 3 touchdowns. Iowa, they've dominated this series of late. They've won 8 of the last 10. It is typically a tight one, though. The last 6 meetings have been decided by 10 or fewer. But right now, I am a Hawkeye believer. I am believing in the Iowa offense. It only takes 1 game to win me over. They're at home, and I see Iowa covering. Kansas at Illinois, and the Jayhawks, 5.5-point favorite. Saturday night, that one live on FS1, a little Big 10, Big 12 showdown. Last year in Lawrence, the Jayhawks, they won by 11. Courtesy, guys, speaking of offense, 539 yards of Kansas offense. Both of these teams won in week 1 by 45 points. The Illini, Brett Bielema company, I think they're rapidly improving. They're a better team than they were the last couple years, but they can still be a little hit and miss on D, a little hit and miss at quarterback. For Kansas, though, how about the job Lance Leipold and his staff are doing right there in Lawrence? I don't think it's getting enough attention. I don't think they're getting enough credit nationally. 84% of all the bets are on Kansas. The ranked Jayhawks, I love saying that, the ranked Kansas Jayhawks continue their rise up the rankings. They get the win, and they get the cover.
Kansas is a football school.
They're more than just hoops, baby, more than just hoops. Tennessee at NC State. 70% of the money coaches on the Vols, who are favored in Raleigh by 7.5.
Real quick, NC State, a really good coach, Dave Doran, and a very tough place to play. However, I went back and watched Tennessee, and they have a quarterback that I called Matt Leinart and Brady Quinn this morning after watching this thing. His name's Nico Iamaleava.
Call him Nico.
That's the old Polynesian background.
The old Polynesian and you coming out.
I'm telling you this now, Mark, and I watched the whole, and it's Tennessee Chattanooga, so they were overmatched, the opponent they play. I mean, they were so much better. But this guy, as far as a body type, to stand there athletically and throw the ball came out like a missile. He was a 5-star product coming out of high school. I asked this question, is he a top 10 pick in the NFL draft to Brady and Matt? They obviously got another year left. This guy is unbelievable, Mark. I can't believe, I know they had Joe Milton, I believe, last year, but this guy is a monster.
Nico.
Because of him, I'm putting them to cover the spread, and I think they'll be a playoff team because of this guy. That's how, on one,
Coach.
I know it's Chattanooga. This guy's go check him out, Mark.
Coach, I checked him out. Didn't they pay him $12 million out of high school? Like,
I don't know. Is that right?
They paid him like $5 million out of high school, something like that.
As far as a ball coming out of a guy's hand, Mark, it's beautiful. I'm going to show it on the Big Noon.
I don't know what the number is, Coach, but he got some millions coming out of high school.
Wow.
So I got my son doing 3, 5, and 7-step drops right now.
Yeah.
You got enough cash, Mark. You're going to be all right for generations.
I played running back, Rob. You know they treat us like the redheaded stepchild. Come on.
Mark, last game, Colorado at Nebraska. This is a really
I want to hear this one.
Big 12 versus Big 10. Is Nebraska really back? What is Colorado year 2 under Prime? Nebraska 7.5-point favorite in Lincoln.
Nebraska 7.5-point faves. Shout out to BetMGM. No, but Nebraska is much improved, man. Dylan Raiola, the quarterback, he is a guy. He's a gunslinger, and he looks like a little mini Mahomes. Like they look like doppelgangers or something. He got the whole fro hawk, light skin, kind of sidearm throw. The defense is nice, but Colorado, I'm just telling you, I just can't go against Prime. Shadur Sanders, Jimmy Horn Jr., Travis Hunter, if this defense can find a way to get a couple stops, just a couple stops, I like Colorado in a shootout. So, -7.5, Colorado, I'm taking the Buffs. Buffs. And that's your Deuce.
Boy, I hope we go back there, man.
Well, Coach, to your point, Big Noon will be back in Boulder if Coach Prime can get this window. I see you, Mark. If they can get this win on the road, I think the volume starts turning up a little bit. It's not there at 10 yet, but it starts. The chatter returns. All right, so those are our picks. Also, real quick, what's that?
Pasta J.
Pasta J, baby.
Pasta J's in Boulder, baby. We know a guy. At Pasta J's. Real quick, because Matt Leinart is going to kick me out of his garage here in a moment. It is the opening weekend in the NFL. Real quick for both of you guys. Mark, the difference in the game day experience from college to NFL, what is it that you point your finger at?
The difference in the game day experience, man, it's just ball, man. It's just ball. Like, you've been waiting. You've been preparing for such a long time. In college, you go through a fourth quarter offseason training program. That's what we called it at Alabama, fourth quarter. You go through a spring practice. You go through summer conditioning and summer workouts. You go through training camp. You're hitting each other. You're tired of each other. And you finally get the chance to unleash on a team with a different color and a team that you don't care about. And you don't really like them people. Anyway, it's time. And you feel the same way when you go to the league, man. You've had the offseason. You've had training camp. You've had OTAs. You've had mini camp. And you've been doing training camp all this time. Now it's finally time to reap what you sow. You've been putting all these deposits in. Every day you go to the bank, you put deposits in. Now it's finally time to cash out. That's what the first game day is like in college or the NFL. It's time to cash out. It's time to hit the bank. It's time to hit the big safe in the back, not the cash register in the front. We need the big safe. We need where all the security deposit boxes at, where all the diamonds, all the cash. We need all of that. It's time to get this money. That's what time it is. Let's go.
Who's got a security box these days, by the way? I remember seeing mine years ago. My
old
dad
lady
took me
who
to the
flipped
bank.
off, Coach?
Old ladies.
And it's a lot of old people
ladies
still out
in
there,
their
and I
wills.
need that. I need them diamonds and them old gold watches and everything you got back there. I need it. I got to have it. It's time to eat. Week one, it's time to
The
eat.
biggest difference I saw, Mark, was that on game day, especially home games, you get up on the morning, players eat on their own, and the next time you as a coach talk to the players is right before kickoff. And in college, you get up and, we used to go for a team walk. You'd have your team breakfast. You'd have special teams meetings, offense, defense meetings, a quick walkthrough, even for early games. And then you'd all get on the bus and, put on your shirt and tie and go to the stadium and go play the game. In pros, it was, it was just very different. Game day, it's grown men.
Yeah,
get up,
you grown.
go.
If you
It's
ain't
a
ready to
business.
play, you grown. If
It's
you
a
ain't ready to
business,
play,
but college
you don't have a
football is
job.
becoming more and more of a business too, right?
Yep.
More and more of a business. Last chance for a lingering urine story out there. Are we good? No more urine stories.
Let me check my
We're
archives. Nope.
I'm looking. No, we're all good. I want to give my thanks to my boy Matt Leinart, who's right over there off camera.
Yeah.
Let me use his garage for the setup. Who knows where I'm going to be in week 4?
Yeah. Shout out to all our podcast people, whoever, all our fans. If you watch it, you know Stoner hasn't been in the same position for one episode yet. So where will Stoner be next week?
I have no idea where I will be week 4. Listen, if you've
you
got
got
a
a
Wi-Fi
Heisman this week.
connection and electricity, I might be in your basement or your garage doing a show.
Who wants to host
I'm
Stoner?
coming to you, America.
Who has a Heisman in the background?
You like my Heisman?
We brothers.
Good look at you and I are Heisman bros.
You my brother's boy.
We are Heisman bros, Mark Ingram. Let's go. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts, as well as across social media at 3X Option Show. New episodes of The Triple Option drop every Wednesday. Again, as always, our thanks to our sponsors, Wendy's, BetMGM, and Zip Recruiter. Have a great week and enjoy week 2 of college football, everybody.